Click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribestar, and I have a mailbox. You want to mail me comics or whatever. So Hollywood diversity hires over at Netflix and Amazon and the rest are finding themselves getting diversified right out of a job. Or I should say the diversity, inclusion, equity officers are getting fired. The diversity officers who are themselves diversity hires, who then go on to hire other diversity hires. So what happened? One of the things that kicked off everything was the Floyd ODing on painkillers. Perhaps you remember that wacky incident. Chauvin and the other idiot cops definitely screwed up, but it's more a question of the whole city screwed up, the people, the police, the leaders, and that's another video. But you can thank a Soros district attorney for the policies that kept Floyd on the street after a life of violent crime. Yeah, you really should be in prison for life, because sometimes the only solution, the best of a bad situation, is just remove people from other people. That's what a life in prison is for. Anyway, and prepare yourself, because if the Chauvin case goes to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, it might be overturned. Then you're going to see some riots. So I recommend something that expresses your desire to remain peaceful by any means necessary. So these companies all decided to virtue signal, and there's involvement from Finkit, BlackRock, and then the institutional investors at Vanguard, State Street, whoever, and the other big puppet masters. And the thing is, the companies were definitely already woke. That's the direction they were moving in. But after Floyd, they decided to kick things into, we're turning it up to 11. It's kind of like the rainbow flag during the gay month, except in the Middle East or China. So these companies hire these political commissars for salaries that can be, over $1 million for their dye departments, and it's a salary for doing nothing at all, except for making things worse. Now, this latest globalist push starts on a premise that they never prove, because it's wrong. It's the assumption that diversity is a positive, but they can't prove it is, because there's been hundreds of years of anthropological, sociological, psychological studies and business studies that flat out prove that as diversity increases, trust decreases. And everyone already knows that. You know who you feel more comfortable around. Well, those people you feel more comfortable around are the ones you're going to be more efficient if you have some project. That's just the way of the world. It's absolutely against human nature to start mixing things up and try to accomplish a goal. It's like you're not going to be as efficient. But people have been so brainwashed to just keep repeating these phrases. They parrot these phrases that they hear, and they never stop to examine the evidence, because the proponents of it are lying to you. And somehow to ask for facts and evidence now is politically incorrect. Or they go, oh, what are you, istophobic? Because I want to see some evidence of your claim that it's a strength. Is there any studies? It's like, no, actually the studies say everything is pointing in the opposite direction. So why are you pushing this exactly if you know it destroys things? It's like, it shows you the level of gaslighting we're in right now, that we're this far along that you're hiring political commissars for a business to destroy the business. So all this current globalist brainwashing is based on a lie. Your company is most efficient if you have all one group of people, all men of the same race. As soon as you mix, you start planting the seeds of destruction. The same group of people, same group of men with the same ideology is going to be the most efficient group. And women in charge of anything destroy any group, or a group of women would be almost murderously toxic in a few months. And if you jump down my throat on that, go ask a group of women who've worked in a female environment. They know what it's like. Some things just don't work because of biological differences. Heaven forbid you say men are not women, or like maybe the patriarchy is there for like millions of years of evolutionary advantages. Maybe it serves a purpose. No, it couldn't possibly, because my communist professor told me it doesn't. I think he lied to you. Some things just work and some things don't. People want to be around their own people, and men are better in charge. But of course, it's not politically correct to say this. And if you saw the looks on these women's faces, you just couldn't have a conversation with a lot of these people, because it's a stimulus response and it bypasses cognition, because the only thing you'll get is they'll have an appeal to emotion. It'll be instant emotional ad hominem deflection or a straw man argument. They can't engage on the merits of the argument because their argument is wrong. It's like everything they're saying is wrong, and there's no shortage of studies that show the things they're pushing are wrong. Everything PC is built on false belief systems because they make the truth unpolitically correct, and eventually a system not based on truthful communication is going to collapse from within. Now, what this is, these new die officers and their branches, is a branch of the company that is designed to decrease profit, because that's literally the result of what it does. The programs cost them money to initiate, and carrying them out costs them more money in lost efficiency. They hire people not based on merit and people who don't fit in with the team. A lot of time, people who have chips on their shoulders, because if you know that you got hired because of your place on the oppression hierarchy as a primary consideration, then you also know that it's going to be harder to get fired. But also, everyone around them hates them because they don't deserve to be there in the first place. You have to explain things more to them than if they were hired on merit, and you have to work more to cover for their mistakes. And all this does is just pisses everyone off because they know something is wrong, and you can't mention it because they'll call you phobic, and they might just fire you or send you to human resources where they'll sit you down and make you, I don't know, watch videos. What do they call this? Like, they do it in schools now. It's just like, we're so far along in the Weimar, it's just insane. So these diversity hires were toxic, and also the intra-company memos, the workshops, all that stuff is toxic too. Some of that stuff was leaked from Disney and Ford and Coca-Cola about how just evil these corporations are. Thing is, they didn't have a goal. They wasted time talking about how much the company hated the people who happen to look like you and me, and somehow everything was their fault. So productivity drops. People in corporations might have thought, well, at least the corporations are going to try to be like neutral, fair, and impartial. And then, I mean, they quickly realized, like, well, that is just a pipe dream. That is not how anything works now, unless you're in a very small place, because they slowly see incompetent people get promoted ahead of them. And it's not like confirmation bias or anything. It's like you can be a group of people and you can see what's going on. Like, you're all looking at each other like, this is nuts. And it's like you put the worst person to steer the helm of the ship or something. It's like, well, we're headed for the rocks. Is anyone going to turn this thing around? No, you don't understand. It's istophobic to try to correct it. They put people in positions just based on being purse puppies, and they slowly learn the entire corporate structure is anti-white, is misandrist. So they kind of soft quit in place. They start underperforming because what's the point when you don't have a future of the company anyway, just because of your country of origin. So productivity keeps dropping. People hate the diversity hires and the die officers. So everything at the company starts slowing down, which affects the bottom line, and the shareholders start to awaken at that moment. And this stuff takes time to trickle down. It might take a few months to eventually get to the stock price. Years ago, there was a movement in corporations to not hire assholes. It was based off a book named like that. Don't let difficult people into a cohesive unit, even if they are very skilled, because it screws up the dynamics of a unit. But all that changed, and they went in the opposite direction, because these die officers were all ass clowns that are toxic to anything they touch. Not only are they toxic, but they're hiring other toxic SJW types, and they issue policies that destroy a working environment. It was the exact wrong direction for big corps to go in, but they're pressured by these Larry Fink types, so they went along with it, until it became obvious that if they didn't dial it back at least a little, they were going to lose the company, because they were fundamentally doing things that hurt the morale. Like, I can just look and I can tell that these people are going to be a problem if they're in positions of power. Doing things that hurt the morale of the company and hiring people who are not a good fit with the company, and then themselves were assholes because they've been brainwashed to hate anyone who they perceive as having a place above them or perhaps beneath them on the oppression hierarchy. It all depends on how they look at it. They could be idiots at work, and anyone below them on the oppression ladder, their only option was to quit or stay in place and stop caring about the company. Just do the absolute minimum, and if they fire you, they fire you, which is the way to go. To be purposely obtuse, just keep taking the check as long as possible. Keep a straight face, but never be available to help out the purse puppies if they come to you with, someone above you comes to you with a question on something. It's like, I just can't figure it out. It's just sure as a mystery. It's like, it's a mystery to everyone. No one could solve this problem. Weird. And like, at that point, there's no point in complaining, because if they hired an incompetent person in the first place, you just have, there's no point in like, oh, I'll go talk to HR or the management. It's like, no, there's no point in that. They hired them in the first place. This is who they want. You just let them burn the company down. It's like you have no loyalty to the company. Just keep taking the check and just kind of like just soft quit in place. It's hysterical. And over the past 3 years, there's been articles that come out about these companies are outraged that men are soft quitting in place. It's like, but why? I mean, why would they care? What, like, the company's not for them. The company's not loyal to the people, so why would the people be loyal to the company? It's, it's all just kind of, people are kind of treading water, I guess, until the Civil War, which stack up on some white rice and whatever other supplies you might need. Anyway, click the links, join the channel here over at Subscribe Star, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.